we will never have a socialist elected to any post in our country.
Hello there, thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi, and on the show tonight, we're tracking a political storm brewing right at the heart of America's power capital, a clash between two men who couldn't be more different yet are unmistakably cut from the same New York fabric. Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old Democratic Socialist, son of immigrants and New York's newly elected mayor, says his win is not just a victory, but a verdict on inequality. A promise to take on billionaires, tax the rich, and challenge what he calls presidential excess. Well, from free childcare for every New Yorker to rent freezes, and then you've got 2 lakh new affordable homes as well. Fare-free city buses, tuition-free education, and a $30 minimum wage by 2030. Mamdani's manifesto is as radical as it is ambitious. But then again, there's Donald Trump on the other side, back in the White House for a second term, mocking Mamdani as an extremist, even a communist. We'll play that bite in just a second. But yet, behind closed doors, what we're learning is that Donald Trump reportedly calls him slick. He calls him articulate, politically sharp, the kind of opponent who could re-energize the Democratic left. But then, Mamdani's rise hasn't been without backlash as well. He's been accused of being Hindu-phobic, criticized for attacking Prime Minister Modi, and slammed for comments on Ram Mandir, the anti-India sentiment. But the community is still divided on that. The netizens still divided on that. He did quote Jawaharlal Nehru's tryst with destiny after he won the mayoral election. Listen in to what Donald Trump has had to say, and Mamdani. These are latest reactions coming from both these gentlemen.
Last night, we made history. I'm so proud to be standing here today as the mayor-elect of the greatest city in the world. Over 2 million New Yorkers cast their ballots. Whether they were the more than million who supported this campaign or the others who supported someone else, or whether they felt too disappointed by the political process to participate at all, I will work every day to honor the trust that I now hold. I take the issue of anti-Semitism incredibly seriously. And last night in my speech, I spoke about how my city hall will stand steadfast with Jewish New Yorkers in fighting the scourge of anti-Semitism across the city and making that clear in the actions that we deliver on from January 1st. New Yorkers are facing twin crises in this moment, an authoritarian administration and an affordability crisis. And it'll be my job to deliver on both. The White House hasn't reached out to congratulate me. I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we could work together to serve New Yorkers.
If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. Remember, I've said we will never have a socialist elected to any post in our country. I used to say that, and I was right. We skipped socialist and we put in a communist instead. That didn't work out too well. But as I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places.
Socialists and put a communist in there. Publicly, they're adversaries. Privately, Donald Trump knows he's found a foil, one he can use to brand Democrats as radical, even as Mamdani positions himself as the voice of defiance from within America's biggest city. But the question is, at what price? Universal childcare alone could cost $6 billion a year, and free buses another $1 billion, and his housing vision $10 billion annually. Is that even possible? Is that fiscally prudent? The stage is set for a high-stakes tug-of-war between the capitalist populist and the socialist upstart, between federal power and city resistance, between Trump's swagger and Mamdani's idealism. But the big questions we're trying to ask and understand: is Zohran Mamdani the new progressive playbook that could one day take on Donald Trump? Does Mamdani risk overplaying his hand by starting with confrontation instead of coalition building? Can New York's new mayor truly govern all with his ideological mandate? And is tax the rich practical policy or political posturing in a fragile economy? With me here on the broadcast, Ambassador Suresh K. Goyal, former Indian diplomat. Many thanks for joining us here, sir. Nirmal Abraham, political analyst and a US expert. Always a pleasure to have you with us, Nirmal, as well. Ambassador, let me come to you very quickly. I'm going to urge both of you to keep your answers short, exercise brevity, so that we can go across the board a couple of times. Trump versus Mamdani. Is this the new ideological duel that is going to define America's next decade? I mean, take a look at how the social media is flooded with Mamdani's speeches, and Donald Trump's very recently called him communist, quote unquote.
Too early to say. It's quite correct that Mamdani has been able to use the political play field and defining the new kind of slogans, I would say, and the kind of catchwords which New York population would love. For example, economy. That is what really kicks the New Yorker. Food stamps, healthcare, housing. That is what actually matters for the New Yorkers. And therefore, Mamdani has been able to really identify what is going to make, what is going to tick the New Yorkers under these circumstances. But whether this is going to translate into any future and larger confrontation, for want of a better word, or contest of wills between the two, too early to say really. Simply because Mamdani is a newcomer to the politics. He has been there, but we are seeing him for the first time to see how he exploits. Let us see how what goes on further.
All right. Nirmal, what are your thoughts on this? Is Mamdani the next progressive playbook to defeat Donald Trump, or is this a premature challenger? Why is the social media buzz with, Mamdani taking on Donald Trump, the next big showdown? That's what people are calling it.
I think it's very premature, and I don't think he will ever be able to take on Donald Trump. If you're asking me literally, he can never be the president of the United States. So he can never, because he was born in Uganda, that's what the rule says. Unless they change the constitution, he can never run against Donald Trump or any of his party members as president. That's one. Two, his promises, I like him. I like how charismatic he is. And the fact that he was at one point rated in the betting market at 1%, he rose to 90% against all the odds, against Andrew Cuomo, against Donald Trump, against all the Democrats who did not endorse him, including Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer. So it was great that he actually made this run. But unfortunately, for the citizens of New York City, it will not be fruitful. The reason is many of these claims that he makes, including what you said, 2% surcharge on millionaires, corporate tax, sales tax, income tax, he cannot touch them because these are all under the purview of the state government. So the governor, Kathy Hochul, will have to say yes to whatever Mamdani says for him to actually pass this on, which is what the first hurdle is. The second one is, for building 2 lakh affordable housing units, he would need assistance from Trump as well, as in the form of subsidies, grants, which Trump has already said he will not provide. So unfortunately, there are so many practical difficulties for Mamdani. His promises are good, which is why he got the votes. His campaign was great, but how practical they are, how possible they are the questions we need to answer.
Nirmal, how far can Donald Trump legally go in trying to punish a blue city like New York? New York's identity and symbolism is at play here as well. Both Trump and Mamdani are New Yorkers. And, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I understand one represents the old capitalist elite and Mamdani here representing the new immigrant left generation. So we're talking about urban spaces in America, how they're voting. Is there a demographic change over there? And we've seen time and again, Donald Trump knows how to, arm twist. We've seen what happened with California as well. How far can Donald Trump legally go to punish a blue city like New York?
Well, in terms of subsidies, grants and funds, he can limit it without a doubt. And that's what most presidents do. If it's a Democratic president, he would have done the same thing to a Republican candidate who was far right. So that's not new in politics. As far as California and New York is concerned, in urban areas, you see this trend of youngsters moving slightly towards the left, and more than left, I would say progressive left, which is an indication of why Mamdani won. And the other thing is, this will provide a playbook for the Democrats, because as you rightly said in the beginning, after Barack Obama, we've never had someone, I don't think we've ever discussed a single Democratic candidate on our show other than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, because they were presidential candidates. We're talking about a mayor here on a discussion in India, largely because of the impact he made. So he will change the playbook. He will now, Democratic Party will look at who they have to place as candidates, what policies they have to bring in to please the youngsters, and also the playbook regarding campaigning. nearly 100,000 youngsters went door to door to campaign for Mamdani. They made cold calls. They waited in the streets and gave out flyers. These are things that are new to the Democratic Party. It's sort of what Charlie Kirk did for Donald Trump. So there are many, many Charlie Kirks on the left rising up for the progressive left, which provides a playbook for the Democrats, which could be an alarming sign for Trump. But I don't think it's, beyond New York, California. I don't think it's, the progressive left is as largely accepted as it is in California and New York.
I think that's the operative portion there. And thanks for that nice analogy as well. Ambassador, let me come to you back. Does Mamdani risk overplaying his hand by starting with confrontation? Take a look at the last 48, 72 hours as well. Instead of coalition building, it's about confrontation. Donald Trump has put out another truth on social media. He says, and there we go, we're on to a bad start already. He's called him a communist. And on the other hand, Mamdani in his recent speech says that I'm willing to speak to Donald Trump and see how things can be worked out for the betterment of New Yorkers.
I think Mamdani is a very clever politician. He knows that he cannot really go beyond a point to begin with. He's cautious. He knows what he has on the agenda. And he knows that a lot of it is actually unachievable. But they have been successful in getting him into the mayor's election. And please do keep in mind the fact that he got a huge margin of votes, really, in terms of getting over there, unimaginable. And the fact is that no New York mayor has ever been elected to the office of president. Giuliani. Nothing happened. At the same time, one thing is that New York is like Janus. There are two faces. There is a huge population of the homeless who depend upon the state welfare for the survival. At the same time, it's a city host to the largest number of, hyperbolically speaking, largest number of rich Americans living in the country. So you have these two sides, Republicans and Democrats. So let us see how it plays, but I think he's being very cautious and he knows that he can't go beyond a point. Let us see what happens. But he is very promising politician.
Oh, needless to say, I mean, that's what, so I was reading a New York Times article and, on, of course, conditions of anonymity. Somebody had said that the president really appreciates Zohran Mamdani in closed, doors. He says he's slick, he's articulate, could be the next Democrat face. But Nirmal hears he's bust those myths. He said he's born in Kampala, isn't it? So you'll have to change the constitution for him to give a direct presidential race. But maybe the Democrats, after Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they've all come out heaping praises on him. I've got some vox pops, some reactions from New Yorkers, from East Harlem as well. Listen in, and then Nirmal, I'll ask you a question on the other side. Here are reactions coming from people. These are New Yorkers, these are East Harlem, residents. They're talking about how hopeful they are and they're excited about Zohran Mamdani becoming the mayor of New York.
I did vote for Mr. Zohran Mamdani.
Why?
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because he was the only one that was addressing the concerns of my community. His whole campaign was about affordability. And for far too long, politicians have ignored that component. Very hopeful.
I don't like socialism. But hey, he'll be all right. I think he'll do a good job. Mamdani. We'll see.
I didn't vote. I'm not a Mamdani guy. I'm not a Cuomo guy either. I usually vote. I wasn't that excited about either candidate. With that said, I wish Mamdani the best. I think there's a lot of people that don't live in New York that are really excited to call this a communist city and all this.
Mamdani going to give people hope. Housing, for example, is very expensive, and he says he's going to address that issue, and I hope so. We need something new, and it'll probably work.
I'm hoping to see a more affordable city. I'm 26 years old. I have a roommate. It's hard, especially when you're in school and supporting yourself.
People from all walks of life. New York is that melting point. You heard those reactions, Nirmal, now didn't you? My question is simple. Can a socialist mayor actually deliver tangible changes in 2025 America, in 2025 New York City? Or will state and federal politics block him? And whilst you're at that, do talk about the tax the rich slogan. Do you think this is, sounds powerful, but is it practical as well?
I'll start with the tax the rich slogan. I think it was just posturing because Mamdani knows himself that he cannot tax the rich because income tax does not come under his purview. So that's important unless Kathy Hochul accepts. And Kathy Hochul would agree to him only upon one condition, because Kathy Hochul goes up against Antonio Delgado, who is now the vice governor. He will be running against her, and she will see whether Zohran Mamdani will endorse her or Antonio Delgado, who's on the left. So I think we'll have to wait for that, whether he can tax the rich or not, based on what Kathy Hochul says. Two, I don't think so, for the question of whether he can transform New York, because Bill de Blasio, if you remember in 2012, came in and said the same thing. He said, I will remove all social inequalities, I will bring down the prices, I will cut down inflation. But what happened 8 years later? Nobody even spoke about it. His popularity came down to nearly 10%. And you know what he said in the last speech? He said, listen, I am the mayor of New York City. I'm not the governor. I'm not the president. I have my limits. This is probably what Mamdani would say by the end of his term in 2028.
All right, then. I've completely run out of time here on this particular segment. Ambassador, many thanks for joining us here in Nirmal. Many thanks for taking out the time. A socialist mayor taking on a populist president. New York becomes the front line in America's ideological war. But the question is, who will blink first? Maybe it's too soon. But is it going to be the deal maker or the disruptor? Well, we'll find out, and you can watch on News9 and in your interest to bring you the latest on that front. A quick commercial breather here. On the other side, the first phase of Bihar Assembly elections, and I'll tell you what, it's a historic voter turnout for phase 1. That's coming right on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
भारत सरकार ने सभी देशवासियों के हित में टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस से जीएसटी पूरी तरह से हटाकर जीरो कर दिया है। इससे टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस काफी सस्ता हो गया है। पॉलिसी बाजार पर अब 1 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 400 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
क्वालिटी पे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस, इसलिए बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
Moments come alive, even in everyday life. Every moment finds its place, and every day comes alive inside the aircross. What do you say, Kara?
I think Mahi, Titro, and Aircross have her moment come off.
Wow, say that again.
शुद्ध जैसे उगता सूरज पर्वत पार, शुद्ध जैसे दिल से जुड़ता दिल का तार, शुद्ध जैसे माँ का आंचल, माँ का प्यार, शुद्ध इश्क का जादू दिल पे सवार, शुद्ध जैसे देश की धरती का पुकार, अपने घर वैसा शुद्ध शालीमार।
शुद्ध नारियल तेल, पॉपुलर।
ये दीवानापन मजा आ रहा है।
First phase of the Bihar Assembly elections, and we've got a historic voter turnout. We're learning that the voter turnout has breached the 64% mark. Take a look at this. The state recorded an overall turnout of 64.46%. It could go higher than this as well, as this is just the last preliminary figure that was, mentioned in that press conference that took place in Patna. Begusarai led with 67% earlier in the day, with the capital Patna showed a rising trend at 55.02%. These numbers could change, of course, but in this particular phase 1, 121 seats, voters are deciding the fate of several key leaders, including Tejashwi Yadav, Deputy Chief Minister Minister Samrat Chaudhary. Earlier in the day in Lakhisarai, Vijay Kumar Sinha, the current Deputy Chief Minister, his convoy was attacked as well. Now, what does this turnout essentially mean for Bihar's electorate, for Bihar's mandate come 14th November when the results are going to be out? Well, to understand all of that, Sumit Pandey, political editor, Deccan Herald, is with us here on the broadcast, and Faizan Ahmed, senior journalist, also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Sumit, let me come to you very quickly. You know, what does this essentially tell us? Is this a reliable factor at play over here? What do we make of the 64%? This is a historic number in any case.
Well, yes, but it's difficult to read, conventional wisdoms and electoral assessments based on the turnout, that if there is a higher turnout, that means anti-incumbency. I think those are passé now. It could be anything. If there is places like Begusarai, where it's very...
Can we say that it is historic in nature, sir? Before we go any further, can we say that it is historic, 64% in phase 1?
That's what unofficially the Election Commission has been telling as of now, that Bihar in the first phase is heading towards a historic turn.
Okay, and of course you can complete your thoughts, sir, about it being pro-incumbency, anti-incumbency. It's not a clear-cut marker for that in any case, but why do you think it's gone up?
Well, I think in places where there is a very keen contest, in places like Begusarai, where the left is there, the BJP is there, and then the Congress party is contesting, there's a friendly contest. The political parties would want to bring out their maximum supporters and to the polling booth and cast their votes. So in those areas, I can see that, the polling turnout has been pretty good. Then there is the SIR, which has happened. Election Commission, one of the reasons they said was to weed out the voters who are not present or who had shifted home. The denominator obviously has gone down. The new voters have been added. So if there is a cleaning up of the electoral rolls, that could be one of the reasons. What has been the percentage of women? I think that would be a very interesting factor I would like to watch, because that's an indicator which is going to come out very clearly in the post-poll numbers when the election commissions give. And that's something that I would like to watch.
Women is a constituency, sir, that the Prime Minister has very consciously created for himself. And when people step out to vote for the BJP, maybe they are voting for the Prime Minister's face on the banners as well. And that's where the women will come and play a crucial role as well. You're absolutely right. It's going to be very interesting to see what the women vote is going to look like. But Ahmed Saab, let me come to you as well. Why do you think it's gone up? It's something different, how you're looking at these developments? 64% voter turnout. Does it raise your eyebrows?
Yeah, definitely. This 64.46% is we can say this is historic turnout, and I'm sure that never before in Bihar election the voting percentage went beyond 60%.
This is highest in 73 years. If we could put this into perspective, almost a century.
Definitely. Oh yes, definitely. Because the voting percentage has always been below 60 or just above 50. So this is a historic turnout, and the credit goes to women and youth, as well as the migrant laborers. So they all combined. You see, the number of women has increased. Even the Election Commission has acknowledged that their participation was very good in today's polling. So and also the youth, the first time voter is number about 1.4 million. They have
a lot of ground reports, sir. My apologies for interjecting. A lot of ground reports on YouTube, because YouTube seems to be this new place where people are uploading their ground reports, and you can make your own assessment for your own self. Jan Suraj Party, Prashant Kishore, is what kind of a spoil sport will he try to play now? Because a lot of people in all the ground reports that I was looking, Hindi, English, all alike, they said, "Mera vote to pakka hai, mera vote to Prashant Kishore ko ja raha hai."
Well, there may be people saying this in all the constituencies, but I doubt that Prashant Kishore is going to make any impact in this election. Maybe in few constituencies, he has the ability to damage or hurt the prospects of some parties of both alliances, and win a few seats. but it is not going to make a much difference in this election or emerge as a third force in this election.
Yep, absolutely. That's a credible point here as well. Mr. Pandey, let me come back to you. When there have been cases when the turnout was down, but the incumbent still won. 1957, 71, 80, 99, 2004, 2024, 6 cases where the turnout fell, but the ruling party coalition still returned. And historically, the biggest swings in outcome have come after large turnout changes. That's plus minus 5%. So 1967, 1977, 84 and 2018. 2014, sir, there was a plus 8.23% voter share because of the Modi wave. Does that signify anything at all? I do understand that we'll still have to wait for 14th of November. We'll have to wait for how many women came out and voted and for which party. But do these historical antecedents tell us something? Is there a pattern at play here that maybe your eyes can see and I can't at the moment?
Well, I think it's too early to say that. I mean, Bihar is a very interesting state. If you remember last time, it was a 3-phase election. In the first phase, Mr. Faizan would recall that. In the first phase, it was swept by the Mahagathbandhan, the RJD and Congress. In the next 2 phases, you could see very clearly that it was the NDA which won by a razor thin margin. So it's elections are not that easy to predict in a very diverse, complex polity like India. And just by looking at the numbers and how people have polled. But as I said, numbers need not necessarily mean high turnout, anti-incumbency or pro-incumbency.
Okay.
If one has to gauge the impact, I think one has to go to the ground and speak to the people.
The idea in any case, sir, wasn't to predict the outcome. I was just excited and, of course, a little, taken aback at the 64.4%, the figure. I wasn't expecting such a big, turnout.
This is going to increase.
Yeah, this is going to increase. But over the 2 phases, the average could come down. We still don't know what's going to happen on that front. We're going to leave it here. Ahmed Saab, many thanks for joining us here. Mr. Pandey, always a pleasure to have you here on News 9. Let's see what really happens on the 14th. We have on the 11th, the second phase of the elections also. Higher turnout does not automatically mean change of government. Lower turnout is not a reliable factor as well. But 64% voter turnout, it's historic. After 73 years, this high voter turnout in Bihar. Many thanks for watching In Your Interest. That's all the time we have for you. Top developments right on the other side. Keep watching News 9.
खेलता है झूलता उछलता है दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया
शुद्ध जैसे उगता सूरज पर्वत पार शुद्ध जैसे दिल से जुड़ता दिल का तार शुद्ध